one of the key things we learned yesterday, and in all of the discussions we had from day one to yesterday, was that we have to manage the expectation of community dwellers. One, we also have to manage the expectation of the donors because they expect direct results or immediate results. We also have to manage the expectation of those of us who are implementing or who are the foot soldiers. So the management of expectation came up broadly as one of them. And secondly, another thing that came up was there are a lot of sources of funding, but how we package our projects to take out is another way of getting the funding.
Greetings from Kinshasa. So I'm going to try to address your questions.
We watched one of our champions from Africa, specifically DRC, Tosi Mpeno, and he explained a lot in terms of the opportunities under the GCF, the funding opportunities, and one of the messages I took from him in the video was that countries do not have to rush to present to the UNFCCC. There are a lot of opportunities and we must be ready before we can make our final presentations in terms of reaching the payment stage. But in the interim, while you prepare yourself to reach the payment stage, there are a lot of windows of opportunity in terms of funding. The fear I have is this going to be a repeat of the CDM, where African countries are still getting prepared, but then by the time we get there, the funding had dried out. The next lesson I picked up was the one that had to do with land tenure. There are investors who are coming up who want to invest in some of these projects, but who is the actual owner of the land? Are there documentations that people can present to say, yes, if you invest, these documents can prove that we own this land? And like in the case of Liberia, what is happening now is we are working on this Land Rights Act that is going to turn the land back to the people. But in the interim, the system we have is that government owns all of the land. And so traditional land ownership has not been recognized in its totality. And that was one of the points I raised yesterday. And so these are some of the common things that we see that are coming up across all of our countries that we have to find a way out in order to move forward in REDD+. What we have done as a country is to begin to build that coalition of the willing. There are competing interests in terms of the land use and the forest. Ministry of Agriculture wants to give agriculture concession in forested areas. Ministry of Lands, Mines and Energy want to give out concessions in forests, proposed protected areas. Take for example, I gave you a typical example in the Republic of Liberia. We talk about the peace park that was just passed recently called the Gola National Park. Gola National Park is a transboundary park from Sierra Leone to Liberia. Liberia has more than 75% of that Gola Park. But what is happening is that is one of the richest parts in Liberia in terms of diamond. So Ministry of Lands, Mines and Energy wants to give out diamond concessions. We are saying no, that's a proposed protected area. So what we have done in the interim of late is to write out an MOU with all of these government agencies and ministries that have some part to play in land use planning to at least reduce the tension among government institutions itself before you even talk about tension with communities. Because mind you, these concessions bring jobs to the communities. They bring social benefits to the communities. So communities are always out there looking for companies to come to them to invest.